Hello, happy evening, friends. My name is Lokesh Nathany, PSAI member, a storyteller, and a motivational speaker. I'm super excited today for a couple of reasons. Firstly, welcoming you all to the first episode of new season of PSAI Talkshow. And most importantly, the honor and privilege to host the very special guest this evening. Now, before I introduce her, let me quickly share with you that we all are part of this amazing Professional Speakers Association of India, or PSAI as we call it. There is a platform for all aspiring as well as established communicators who'd like to communicate through stories and, more importantly, public speaking. The Indian chapter of PSAI was founded in 2018 and was affiliated to the Global Speakers Federation in 2019. And there has been no looking back since then. For you to experience, I would suggest follow our social media handles. And guess what? You can attend few events as a guest to get a feel of it. So once again, a very, very warm welcome to this first episode of season 3 PSAI Talk Show. Now it's time for me to introduce our very, very special guest this evening. So our special guest this evening is none other than Neerja Singh. Neerja is a generational diversity speaker, author of 4 generational books, columnist on staying a step ahead on Gen Next. She is also a Seenager or senior teenager. An amazing term, isn't it? A millennial in spirit with the benefit of hindsight. Her TEDx talk on generational wellness and youth suicide is titled The Unaffordable Cost of Generational Gap. A certified virtual presenter, Neerja will be speaking at the Global Speakers Summit, a dream for all of us in 2024 Bali on generational donuts and youth quake. I'm very excited to know more about it. She has spoken live at 3 international summits so far: the Global Speakers Summit Dublin 2022, Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa Cape Town 2023, and the Malaysian Association of Professional Speakers Kuala Lumpur 2023. So she is as much a domestic as much as an international speaker. Neerja uses her 37 years in media and education to amplify the harnessing of generational diversity. Neerja was a PSAI president 2021-22 and represents the association on the Global Speakers Federation board. When not busy advocating generational teaming, giraffe talk, and modern morality, Neerja plays golf, does intercity cycling, and swims a kilometer at a time. So, friends, it's absolutely an honor and pleasure to welcome our very special guest this evening, Neerja. Welcome, Neerja. It's absolutely my pleasure to host the first episode of PSI Talks with you. I've always loved your style and frankness with which you speak. You are a perfect brand ambassador of the saying, what you see is what you get. Welcome, Neerja.
Thank you very much, Lokesh. It's an honor, a privilege, a real pleasure to be here. Thank you. And thank you, PSAI.
So, Neerja, even before we dive into PSAI and
Yes.
how it has added value to your entire professional speaking life, I'm
Hmm.
very curious to know how did this term Seenager started and what is the backstory behind it?
Lokesh, I would have loved to take credit for this, but it's not an original term. And what happened was, I was golfing one day with my golf buddies, and one of them just said out of the blue that I heard this term recently, teenager, and I was so taken up with it. And as my niche started to evolve, it just seemed such a perfect fit. And I adopted it, I registered it, and now I call myself the official teenager, the official, a millennial in spirit with the benefit of hindsight. So that's the story behind the teenager.
Wow, great. I mean, so are you saying that if I want to use the word Seenager, I need to first take official permission from you?
Well, if you want to use it in your business, yes, because I did go ahead and I have it trademark registered. So I own that name now.
Great. And what age people, I mean, at what age one can start using or falls into the bracket of teenager as per you, besides the young spirit that we're talking about?
That's a secret. That's a secret.
No, I'm not
That's
asking your age. Why I'm asking is if I want to use it, I should know that yes, I qualify for this unique, option called teenager.
right, Lokesh. So This term is in use, and typically it's my generation, the so-called in the United States and in the Western world known as the boomer generation, not strictly applicable to India, but just for the reason of simplicity. Boomer generation, they are the ones 1960 born, 46 onwards up to 1964. That is the generation using this term mostly,
Okay,
senior
so I
teenagers.
still have few years to join the club.
Yes.
Couple of years more. Great, fantastic. Moving on. In 2020, you joined PSAI, but you were into public speaking much before that. And 2020 PSAI was still evolving, very early days for the India
Hmm.
chapter, especially. So, what made you join PSAI?
The summit I attended, Lokesh, that was in 2020 Delhi. And those 2 days, I have never felt so alive before in my life. I had this feeling of homecoming and this entire community of speakers, of writers. And those are the two things that come very naturally to me. I have a love for words, spoken and written. I just felt, wow, this is my home. These are my people. This is my community. And I didn't sleep those 2 nights. I was so excited. And it was a foregone conclusion, Lokesh. I didn't have to think about it. I was ready there to register as a member. In fact, I had already paid up before the summit, but in real terms, after the summit. That's when this love story began with the PSAI. Yeah.
Right, great. So we all need triggers in life, and your trigger was a summit. And for me also, many communities that I've been part of, summit, it all started at summit, and we'll talk more about it in detail as
Yes.
we move forward. But so you joined PSCI, you had different roles. You first joined as a person, as a member. You went on to head a chapter, then the national national board of PSAI, and now you also represent Global Speaker Federation, the India chapter you represent there. Now, if you have to look back at your journey of last 3 years, a very short journey of 3 years, but you have achieved a lot more than what many of us would have taken probably 10 years to achieve. So if you look at your journey, how do you rate it, and what all were your key learnings and takeaways, and something that makes you feel, oh wow, great, it was a very wise decision to attend the summit which resulted in everything else.
Absolutely, Lokesh. So, to begin with, I didn't just join as a member. As soon as I was at the summit, I was already talking to Vikas, who was the chair at that time, already talking to the organizers, and I had an assignment to MC one of the breakout rooms where Srijata Bhatnagar, who was going to explain the one pager. So, it was a deep dive from day one, before that day one. And then it continued. So content creating, curating for the Delhi chapter, it just went on and on and on. And in hindsight now, what has it done for me? Uh, well, this is my fifth career. It gave me a successful fifth career. And where and how would I be speaking at the Croke Park in Dublin, Lokesh, at the Pullman Hotel in Kuala Lumpur, or at the Monkey Valley Resort in Cape Town? Where would I be doing that had it not been for PSCI with a very, very relevant core theme, which I got because of my association with the PSAI, and being accepted through answering the call for speakers. Where would all that happen without the PSAI? So, in
Right.
addition to all these opportunities, it's given me a sense of purpose, Lokesh. It's given me a path to my personal healing. It's given me a niche that I burn with. And it literally has brought me home. That's what it's done for me this entire time with the PSAI. And I have a home in base in so many cities now. And in November, I have a base in Barcelona too, because I am going to Spain to speak at that summit. So this is what it's done for me, just to
Right.
share.
So many, many congratulations. Yeah, Spain is, I'm sure a lot of people are listening and heard about Spain. They'll say, oh, wow, it's a great holiday destination.
I
And
know.
it is. But, so you're going to be there representing yourself, representing PSAI India, representing the country at a global summit. And that's wonderful news. You spoke about niche when you were talking about your journey in PSAI.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so let me ask you this. So when I look at myself, when I started my career as a professional speaker about 6, 7 years back, And people used to ask me till about recently, till about a year back, if people used to ask me, Lokesh, what are your niche areas or what do you speak about? And I used to say that I can speak on any subject. Just call me and I can come and speak because I felt that I can speak very well. And it so happened over 6 years, I hardly got any paid assignments. So known people will keep inviting me, and I used to feel very good about it. Wow, people are inviting me. It's okay if I'm not making money. Now, when I decided to become a professional speaker, I realized that it's not adding up. I am going for talks, but my niche is not there. I'm
Yes.
like everywhere and nowhere. So, as a professional speaker, one wants to start their journey into how does one find niche and why niche is important, and also
Absolutely.
how did you evolve your niche over the years?
Right. So, realistically speaking, Lokesh, niche is your identity and your recognition as the go to person, what we call an authority on that particular subject. Through your niche, you become known in the speaking industry. However, not everybody. Most people are making money through coaching and training, not through just speaking. And I want to share something here. Charlotte Kemp, who's going to be the president, she's taking over as the president of the Global Speakers Federation. She's shared once with me that not her husband used to say that you train for dough, but speak for show. So the dough comes from training, and speaking is to become visible there, to establish yourself, to be there on top of people's minds. And how do you become that? Because you're known for a particular subject. If somebody says, let's say, outlier marketer, and immediately one name comes up, or renewalism, or productivity, these are niches. And where my niche is concerned, it started with two people. I give credit to Vikas Jain first, and then to Srijata Bhatnagar, who helped me structure it. My niche started by just going back and thinking of my life experiences, my training, my education, things that my life events that have affected me, that have shaped me, and all those little dots that you work to connect, and then they come together. That's how you gradually discover your niche. I started by calling it generational empathy. And why generational? Because I was seeing certain things happening with my children and their friends. And as a teacher, as a journalist, as a TV production person, I was observing the disconnect, the unresolved grief around that was not being spoken of. And all those dots came together, and that's how I arrived first at generational empathy, Lokesh, but empathy just seemed very far more softer and more kind of NGO like, I was told. And then
Right.
diversity was exploding all around, and it made perfect sense to call it generational diversity, even though I keep going back to empathy because I do believe it's extremely relevant, applicable, and crucial today. And one more thing, Lokesh, you gradually arrive at your niche, it keeps evolving. And I do believe that from your niche, several sub niches, subtopics emerge. And you can
Right.
build upon those and speak and use those to make money, Lokesh. That's how it happens.
Great, thank you, Neja. But how did this niche help you in progressing in your professional speaking career?
It helped me because I started being known for this particular niche. I started being approached for this particular niche. I answered calls for the call for speakers. And what were my topics? At Dublin, it was empty chair and the death positive generation. One particular aspect of generational diversity. In Kuala Lumpur, it was the impact revolution. In
Right.
different aspects of the same core theme, and then you begin to make the connections. For instance, here are the companies and businesses who have an issue with retaining young employees. And why is that happening? Because the middle managers are not able to communicate with them, and they're not able to bridge the gap between the younger employees and the senior supervisors and the bosses. That's where generational diversity comes in. In schools, where teachers are teaching from assumptions. So, teacher training, upgradation, and also identifying generational quotient or generational training or generational skills, generational intelligence. And today, things are changing so fast that there are new parameters, new needs, and new
Absolutely.
topic subjects coming up all the time, Lokesh. Yeah,
So, friends, you just heard Nirja that niche is very, very important. And, we are like those artists, but artists with a very niche area so that people could identify us, identify our work. And she's a prime example of how niche helped her, discover herself and probably evolve herself in her professional speaking career. I am still evolving, and only over last 1.5 year, I figured out the power of building this niche. Still early days, but it is really helping me, and I could see a change in last 2-3 months in terms of the kind of work that I've started to get, which was not there earlier. Now, Nirja, one fear that we all have, let's assume we are starting early, I mean, we are starting as our career in professional speaking, or so on and so forth. One of the fear that we have is in trying to find out my niche, or let's assume I say that my niche is XYZ,
right.
and I get work which is not in the defined parameters of my niche. And if I start saying no, how do I build my body of work? So this challenge is always there in terms of, should I say no, should I not say no, should I do this, should I not do this? It's not part of my niche. How do we go about it, deal with this situation? Because I'm sure you also must have gone through this at some point of time in your life.
Yes, this happens at the initial part, Lokesh. Gradually, you'll find over a period of time, the more your clarity and the more your conviction and confidence around your theme, you'll find that your theme applies to everything around you. You don't have to work at it. You just find that those connections are happening automatically. If it's selling or marketing or renewalism, for instance, there is some connection. Everything is interconnected, so there's no subject which is completely isolated and completely exclusive to everything else. So that is one thing that happens. That is when integration, it really you internalize your topic, then you find that it's applying everywhere. And I do believe that there is nothing wrong in taking on assignments in the beginning that apparently do not completely connect with your subject, because even when you're doing those talks, your topic will come up, you meet people, your circle is growing. So initially it's okay. Gradually you need to become narrow and start going really deep into that, because that's where your authority and your identity, credibility will come from. So
Right.
it's fine in the initial stages, I feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, friends, you just heard it gets evolved over a period of time. Like some of our viewers have said, Anupriya and Purva, it evolves over a period of time. Until you reach that stage where it's evolving, it is okay to do one odd, presentations or talks or public speaking, which may not fall in the, parameters of your niche that you're trying to create. Probably, who knows, by doing such sessions, you'll be able to find your niche over a period of time. But niche is very, very important if you really want to pursue a career in professional speaking. Yeah, you wanted to say something, Nirja? Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to give an example. For instance, if I just stuck to generational diversity, what if I am asked to speak on suicide, for instance? Strictly speaking, if you look at it very clinically, what is the connection? There is a connection. Let's say mental health comes up somewhere. What is the connection? There is a connection. That's what I said, that once you start, you'll find that laterally, diagonally, vertically, in every which way, you'll find these little threads going around. And there are ways to bring in your core expertise, your core, whatever you burn with, into these assignments gradually. But like I said, it takes a little while until you really internalize it, and then you begin to see the connections.
Right. Moving on, when we join any community or a chapter, or let's assume a platform or a
Hmm.
body like PSAI,
Yes.
one of the challenges for, say, people like us, and I have gone through this journey where I expect miracles from day one of the joining of the chapter. It's like, me joining the school on day one and expecting that I should be able to solve all the problems.
Yes.
But that's not the case. But because the expectations on the platforms are such, at times it becomes very, very challenging, and we start putting blames on the organization or the platform that you are part of. Now, coming from a background where I'm always living in my comfort zone of few friends and few colleagues or few family members, so it becomes very very difficult for say somebody like me to from day one try and integrate myself into the platform with the people around and all. You come from a very different background. You come from an Air Force background where you literally integrated with the whole country over the entire years of your life, because every couple of years you are meeting new people, new city, etc. How does one people like us get ourselves integrated into say PSAI if tomorrow one has to join and feel yes, this is the place, and
Yes,
what kind of investment of time one is required to have that patience to get integrated?
right. So the initiative has to come from the person. In this case, you are asking. So the initiative has to come from Lokesh to break his self-constructed walls of security. You have to
Right,
break them, and there is no other way to growth and expectations. Lokesh, when you join an association which is made up of a very niche community, speaking is not for everyone. Even
right,
though we join these associations, it's not for everyone. It requires a particular aptitude, a particular stamina, because here you are creating something out of nothing that exists already. So your core
right,
theme doesn't exist, but you're going to create it. You're creating it. You're putting your ideas together, your experience together. You're creating your surveys. You're creating your writing your books. You're creating your workbooks or your white paper or your products. All this is coming from you.
right,
So it really needs a lot of conviction about why you want to be doing this, what's your message, how much are you willing to invest in skilling up, in your preparedness. And it does take a lot of time. And if it's something you love, it will become effortless. In time, it will
right,
become effortless. Once Lokesh, your niche is identified, believe you me, it just flows. I can be sitting on the laptop. If I didn't have to get up for something, I would happily continue fiddling with LinkedIn, writing a post there, reading up articles, or putting together a book. I could do it all day long. So, what are your expectations? Why do you join these associations? And remember that these are associations that just provide the what we keep saying, calling ecosystem, and the rest is
right,
entirely up to you. What you are able to make, how much you are able to get that to help you.
right.
So help them to help you.
Yeah,
Help them to help
absolutely.
you by yes, by just keeping at it, keeping at it, keeping at it. I think
Right.
that's the way to do it.
So is it fair to say that if you want to get, you need to give as well?
Absolutely,
With magic.
absolutely.
So there are no miracles here or no such a magic wand here that overnight things will change.
And why would you call it giving? You just being. You decided to become a speaker. You're in
Absolutely.
this community. What is this? All this about giving? I'm not giving. I'm just being. I'm just being a
Absolutely.
speaker. So
Right.
I'm absorbing from you, and I'm reflecting it back at you, and
Right.
that's all there is to it. So just basic values. There's nothing more. Nothing more, Lokesh.
Right.
That's been my experience.
No, no,
Yes.
absolutely. That's fantastic. And I love that thing of, you just being, just be yourself and integrate yourself over a period of time. And this is not something which is tangible that you can touch and feel.
Yes.
It takes a while to start seeing those stars around you in your thoughts, how you conduct yourself, how do you behave yourself. And there's so much to learn from everybody.
Absolutely, Lokesh. And one more thing, particularly today when everything is transparent. We talk about transparency. Actually, we have no control over it. Everything is transparent. Even now, as I speak to you, there are people watching us. They can tell from our faces, from our gestures, from our words, how honest we are, how much are we sharing. It shows. And
Right.
your posts on social media, how you comment on other people, what you write in the WhatsApp groups. It's there's nothing hidden. So
Absolutely.
today, when everything is transparent, I think it's wonderful. You don't have to
Absolutely.
to make any effort to. subterfuge, nothing. Just be yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Also, moving on in your last 3 years of journey at PSAI, I'm sure
Yes.
there were a lot of experiences, lot of learnings, and lot of moments where you felt great about doing something or delivering something, and the ecosystem, as you spoke about, really helped you put this together. So, would you like to share few instances that comes to your mind where you were like those wow moments thanks to the ecosystem?
Yes, Lokesh, there were some fantastic moments. There were, I'd say, the opportunities to meet speakers around the world and within our association, and what they said and how those things stuck with me. So, our founding member, Kiruba Shankar, once said to me that, Neerja, create a win win situation for everyone as a leader. And I'll come right out and say that it's not easy to lead an association where we are all so-called donating our time, but the word we use is volunteering, and there's no nuisance value or power that we hold over each other, barring the
Right.
fact that and understanding that if PSAI progresses, I progress. That it's in the interest of everybody associate, every single member of PSAI, that the association grow and flourish and move forward and be taken seriously on the global
Right.
platform. It's in everybody's interest. So
Right.
as long as you have that in your mind, I think things fall into place. As president, yes, there were things we created. Uh, could we have done better? Certainly. Did I make mistakes? Of course, I did.
Right.
And but it also taught me things that that an association needs to consciously cultivate the culture of an association. And when I go globally to other associations, I very consciously observe how they function, what they do, and there is some disturbance, but silos in associations, and the same things are applicable to a speaker association as are applicable to other organizations. This is no different. The only
Right.
difference is that maybe speakers are more opinionated and we speak and we know how to write, so we express ourselves strongly, which is
Right.
again completely fine. But today, the fact that our USP is global speaking, very important to observe the basics of communication, which include integrity, which include courtesy, which include respect. When you go to other associations as a speaker and they are your hosts, how we conduct ourselves, because we are representing our association and our country in a
Right.
manner.
Right.
So these are the things that I would say have stuck with me, and I would urge people
Great.
who want to. Yeah.
So, moving on, your journey at PSI started at the summit in 2020, and
Yes.
I attended my first summit in this year, PSS 2023 in Chennai, and obviously 2 days were fantastic. And we have another one coming, PSS 2024 in Delhi, which is going to be absolutely a world class event for professional speakers, existing speakers, as well as the ones who are aspiring to be one. Now,
Mhm.
when it goes to these summits and conferences, what are those few steps or secrets to make the most out of these conferences? One is okay, I go and attend, I take pictures, I network, but how does one, get the meat out of it? What are those, what worked for you? And you think these were my learnings because you have attended so many of them over the last so many years.
Lokesh, I do feel that I could have done better. However, uh, preparation is very important. So, researching the speakers who will be speaking, looking up their profiles, maybe connecting with them even before the summit happens. So, all this, if you take it backwards, translates into advanced preparation. Because most of us work without virtual assistants or personal assistants. We are one woman, one man armies, and you're going to be applying for your visa, you're going to be getting your ticket, you're going to be doing your packing, checking how much baggage allowance, and all those nitty gritty of traveling. Plus, you're wanting to learn up a little about the culture of the country that you're going to, all of that. So, it takes time. So, preparation is one. Looking up the speakers in advance is another. and intentional networking, conscious networking. One is that you go there for coffee and you're just bumping into people and you're exchanging cards. That's one way to do it. But if you have prepared, then you can be consciously seeking out certain people. It's a fantastic opportunity. You are physically meeting somebody and you're creating a memory that is for life, that will bond the two of you forever.
Right.
It doesn't go. You'll always have that to hark back on. Remember when we did this? There are pictures and all of that. And there's this feeling of trust that develops when you meet them in their countries, in their, because many a times they're so generous, they will take you out for coffee. Sometimes you visit their homes, you have meals with them. And so the best way to leverage a convention is to, if I had to say it, build relationships. I think that's the most important for me. How much you
Right.
absorb, how much learning, and we talk about taking notes. Yes, it's important. Those recordings are available. It's great, but ultimately, it is the relationships
Right.
that you create on these during these conventions. So that would be the most important thing. I would say the most important thing you can do, the way to leverage.
You mentioned about a very interesting term. I mean, I've been networking all my life. I think I'm a product of networking for the entire 55 years of my life. But
Yes.
I've never heard this intentional networking. So can you elaborate on that for benefit of all the viewers here? But that's very interesting.
Lokesh, like for me, it would be I'm a speaker on generational diversity and I want to explore this deeper. I want to graduate to what we call thought leadership now. I want to critique the subject and I want to have a well informed opinion on this. Therefore, let me find out if there are some generational diversity speakers there. If they're not there, then let me see if I can connect with someone who can connect me to somebody like that. Because I'm looking to create a LinkedIn group on this subject. And
Right.
that's how I'm going to pitch myself as a leader in this field because I've brought together people on this subject and now we are creating something new, collaborating. So
Right.
intentional is you have a purpose in mind, you have a plan in mind, you're working towards something.
Right.
And with that you seek out specific people.
Right.
It needs
And
preparation.
all this boils down to that you need to have that preparation before you attend any
Yes,
summit, domestic or international. Then only you can do intentional networking.
absolutely, absolutely.
Great. Also, one more thing. In my early days, when I used to attend conference and I was always looking for speaking assignments. So when I used to meet people, my intent was always ki somehow I convince him that I'm the person. Hire me or tell me when can I meet you for a workshop. I will do the training, etc., etc. Now, how? So I have my own thoughts, but I would like to pick up your brain. How productive, unproductive, professional, what's your take on this?
Lokesh, my take on this is that if you're getting speaking assignments where you're going on your own steam and well in time, that's a different story. But if you are pushing your hosts at a very busy time in their lives and seeking assignments there and calling them up, it's not very respectful and it's not particularly appreciated because let's face it, speakers all over the world they have to work to get assignments, to get speaking
Right.
assignments. So it's a universal dilemma, universal phenomena that we all struggle with. So when you're going, like I said, prepare, get them in advance on your own steam, or do all the asking before, not in the thick of it. When they are going nuts, and you know what happens in conventions, a lot goes on there. It's a very intense, high pressure time, few days. Yes.
So basically, go with preparation, but avoid chasing unnecessary. And the agenda cannot always just be seeking an assignment.
No, no. No,
Great.
because you leave a bad taste. You leave a bad taste in the wake, and then you are jeopardizing any future associations. You know, any
Right.
future
Because people will say, "Oh my
collaborations.
God, dur
Yeah,
raho,
you don't want people
stay
to
away."
avoid you or stop taking your
Right.
calls, or you don't want that to happen.
Right. Finally, if you look at PSAI and you have been a global ambassador for PSAI, as a member, what do you think can be global market and reach for me, and how does one go about it? When I've just started my career, I've just joined PSAI, and somewhere I read about Nirja and I realized she's a global brand ambassador. So, what is your message? How does one can reach out to the world through PSAI?
For that, Lokesh, we have to be prepared. We have to be undeniably, clearly, substantially, impressively present with our topic, with our content, with our delivery, with our platform mechanics. So that is number one. Number two is that we also need to understand that this really is our time. And Europeanization is in the past, Americanization is also going into the past. This is a time for Asianization. And somewhere I read that it's no longer globalization, it's global Asianization.
Interesting.
That's the spelling, okay? So if you remember that, and by Asia, we have all these other developed countries in Asia. We have the youngest population in the world. We have a lot going for us. India is a market, could be a market.
Right.
But for that, we have to put in the work, Lokesh. We have to put in the work. We have a lot of potential topics that can be worked upon. But like I said, that a lot of sifting, a lot of fine tuning, a lot of self training, self skilling. For instance, I am constantly doing courses on LinkedIn. And I've just signed up for a course through Coursera, but it's a Stanford course. And because the topics that we pick today are not topics that were taught typically in the universities and colleges. These
Right.
are new things that we are arriving at. And the thoughts and the nuances are constantly changing and evolving. So you need to constantly keep going back. What is new now? What is Gen Alpha? For me, what is Generation Alpha? How is it going to be different from Generation Z, for instance? So constantly learning, constantly improving, getting sharper and sharper. Every time you get to speak, that is your opportunity. You're not getting another opportunity. You get a spot on the stage, you better deliver, because that's when
Right.
you get a call back. That's when people remember you. That's when you cause discussions to happen on the tables. So
Right.
it's a time, and we offer a lot. We offer a lot of diversity. We have a lot in our culture that can be used to offset our themes and topics. For instance, in one of my talks, I talked about the generation gap during Mahabharata, or how many generations fought that battle. It's you can juxtapose that, because those are very relevant, evergreen,
True.
the fact stories that are part of a mass consciousness. They're there in our heads and in our hearts and our minds. So leverage that, leverage our culture, leverage our stories and our diversity location.
Right.
Yes,
No, no, absolutely. You are bang on because we as a nation have so many stories, so many lessons to learn. We have such a rich heritage to pick up
yes,
threads as a speaker, as a professional. And so, to summarize, what you're saying is one needs to work hard, build your body of work, prepare
yes.
your niche, be part of associations like PSAI, and do intentional networking to slowly and steadily, don't rush it. Slowly and steadily, you reach out to the right ears, right eyes, and that will probably help you build a global network for yourself. Yeah, you're saying something.
Yes, Lokesh. So not just, of course, be a member of PSAI, which then entitles you to become a member of the Virtual Speaker Association
Right.
International, the Professional Speaker Association of Spain, for instance, the Singapore Association, Asian Professional Speakers, Singapore. And so at 50%, 80%, whatever there are variations there, you could become members of other associations. And that's where your global community starts to form. That's the
Right.
birthing. Yes.
That's great. Moving on, are there any specific value system that we speakers should follow or integrate in our day-to-day life as a professional speaker? Anything that stands out or that you feel are a must, non-negotiable?
Yes. Before we talk about the values, I do want to share that there are speakers out there who break every rule in the book, and that's not every speaker. It's a rare speaker location. I'm not that speaker. But I do want to talk about one particular speaker. I heard at the Dublin summit, and her name is Jo Berry. She she was just herself. Excuse me. She was just herself and stayed in one place, did not move a muscle. We're not talking voice modulation and nothing, but such a compelling, powerful story. She had the entire hall quiet as a mouse. You could hear a pin drop. That was the kind of talk she gave. So, of course, you can be yourself. Of course, if you have a compelling story, you could be doing that. But behind every talk, behind every speech, one like Joe Berry's, also there are values. And what are those values? Evergreen speaker values. Those values are one, of course, mastery, uh, aspiring to mastery, preparation, rehearsal, which we don't do enough of. We don't rehearse enough. Then also hearing yourself speak in your rehearsal, trying to gauge how easy you are on the ears, and being very clear and simple and straight with your message. That I have a problem with that, in fact, but keeping your message extremely simple and easy to follow by your listeners, because ultimately you are there for the listeners. They are not there for you. You are there for the audience, you are there for the clients, and you're there to
True.
give them a message. So working backwards from that, always, that would be a great value for a speaker. and
Right.
uh, and
Yeah.
I also remember, Lokesh, one last thing, that we talk a lot about being experts, but really speaking, it's very hard to be certain of anything today. Today,
True.
it's hard to say that this is how it is, because things change, they're surprises. So, not having an ego as a speaker, being willing to look at things again and admit that I may not know the answer.
No, no, that's a very valid point because in every walk of life, ego plays a big role. And as a speaker, though, it plays a much bigger role because unless if you have ego, you cannot connect with your audience. And if you don't connect with your audience, the whole purpose is gone. So thank you so much. And one final question before you wanted to say something, Inuja?
No, I'm waiting for your question.
Great.
There's some sound coming. We have a masjid here, so please don't mind that if it's.
Nah, no problem at all.
Yeah.
So we both live in more or less the same vicinity. So soon it
Yes.
will be heard in my place as well.
Okay.
So my question is, you speak about diversity,
Right.
right? Generational
Yes.
diversity, and we also live in an era where we're talking about inclusivity.
Absolutely.
And this is a month that is being celebrated as a Pride Month. I have so many friends,
Yes.
who are celebrating Pride Month. So when
Yes.
you are, a subject expert or you talk about diversity, and then we have inclusivity also, which is very very important today because we are nobody to judge people. So what's your message as a diversity? And you obviously talk about inclusivity as well. What's the
Yes.
message of this Pride Month for people who are watching this right now?
Right. The message, Lokesh, is acceptance and openness and kindness. These are the three things. And remember that we are living in a world where the demographics are changing very fast, where there's more and more space. This the current for, let's say, take United States, the American demographics. They've never been this diverse before. So there's a reverse racism happening. The population is declining in a lot of nations. In a lot of nations, the population is graying, the silvering of the world. And as the younger people evolve and emerge, they have questions, and they don't want microaggressions, they don't want suppression, and rightly so. Perhaps this is the evolution of mankind, and humans, our progress as human beings, and therefore all these LGBTQ, all the other movements. There are schools and schools of thought, but for me, it is acceptance, giving the other person permission to just be themselves. Everybody needs permission to breathe. We don't need permission to breathe, but the way we've constructed this world, it's ended up appearing like that, and that is not justifiable. That's not done, Lokesh. So in this month, Absolute acceptance, understanding what's going on with them and what their struggles are. Everybody's
Right.
not the same. Yes.
No, absolutely. That's very well said. And I think it's so important for all of us that we have an inclusive society. And our biggest strength is the power that we get in diversity and yet be inclusive. I think that's the key for all of us. And we have a question coming in soon is going to be put on the screen. But till then, till we have the question on screen, I want to I really enjoyed this conversation, and I think I'm very enriched today, and my energy levels, both as a professional speaker and as a member of PSAI, have really gone to the next level. And as I said in the beginning, you see what you see is what you get, and you have been 100% to that saying in the entire conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed. So, question is, okay, it's in the already in the bottom of the screen. The question. Let me just. Uh, yeah, sorry. Let me just check the question. I'm a little tight on the technology, so uh, just give me a sec. If I
Shall
can
I?
ask, if I can ask our host to put it on the private chat. Okay, Nirja, the question is on display. Can you read that?
Yes, I can read it, Lokesh. It's from
Sure.
Brigadier Basim. And he says that he's surprised when people say, I'm an expert or I'm a guru.
Okay, I
Is
got
it,
it. Yeah.
is it
Please.
okay for others to say, but should you claim to be one?
Right.
Ideally, so Lokesh, my answer to that is that ideally you are a real authority if other people are calling you authority, really. That would be in the order of things. But it's
Right.
just that we've gotten into this projection vein where we are going to town, rah 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 rah, I am the best, I know, I have all the answers, I'm going to tell you. But like I said, that it shows whether or not you have the answers. So there are experts who say they're experts and they do have the answers, of course, but there are also experts who call themselves experts and may not have the answers yet. So it's a choice that we make. But I think it's best to let other people call you experts, other people call you gurus, rather than we go to town with this if you're experts.
Right. Absolutely.
Confidence
Yeah.
is important. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not that simple, and it's not easy to let go, not beating your own trump. But I think if you really want to grow in life, as you rightly said, I think the true victory or true success is when others speak about it, others talk about it, others mention about it, rather than me going with a flag that I am the best. And then what happens is nobody actually looks at the flag, and people know that, oh, this guy is just self beating himself. So I think it actually backfires. So you're absolutely right. So, Nija, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. I was very nervous initially because when I got to know that I need to do the chat with you, but you made it so simple and easy for me with your,
You,
with your flair. And seriously, I
you,
still remember first time. So before I sign off or I conclude, let me ask you this. I remember our first meeting was at a TEDx event online, uh,
yes.
and you were one of the attendees. And I remember asking you that time, and I'm asking you once again right now. In that entire TED event online, you're the only attendee out of the few hundred who was smiling 24 by 7. And nothing has changed. You are doing it right. So, what's the secret behind it? Because this is such an important part of being a speaker, and even otherwise as an individual.
I don't know, Lokesh. I think I just get high on company. So right now I'm high on your company.
Wow.
That's
But besides this,
event, it's it's just so exciting to exchange ideas. It's just so exciting to have meaningful conversations. And at that TEDx, that talk, there were these phenomenal people sharing such marvelous stories. It was just giving me such a high, and I just couldn't stop smiling and grinning from ear to ear. And the same happened in Kuala Lumpur, literally everywhere. It just kind of sets me off because ideas, people, that's what I said, that this is home. People who read, write, and who speak, who
right.
ideate and who create. This is my manner.
So, friends, if you want to smile 24 by 7 like Nirja, you got to be in the right company, have right conversations, and just enjoy the moment. You got to
Yes.
be in the moment. I think that's very, very important. That's what you do. I think when you are here, you are here. I mean, doesn't matter what's happening around, And I think that's, to me, that's your secret about 24 by 7 smiling, because you always live in the moment. So thank you so much on behalf of PSCI. I want to thank you once again, friends, all of you. You just saw what happened after Nirja attended the summit in 2020. It took a 360-degree turn as far as professional speaking career is concerned. And not only India, she is touching global markets, global platforms, and people are just loving what she's bringing from India. Obviously, there's a lot of hard work, a lot of preparation, a lot of effort has gone into it. It's not so simple and easy. And she truly is a benchmark for us, a role model for. It's for me. I'm sure it's true for many others as well. So it all started with the summit. We have our summit, the next summit coming in
Yes.
PSS 2024 in Delhi. And as they say that every year you go to the next level of the summit. So I'm sure what Nirja saw in 2020 and what's going to happen in 2024, there's going to be a huge difference. So you can imagine the kind of excitement, the value add, and everything that you'll get there. So you want to register, please follow our handles on social media, both LinkedIn and Facebook. Also, I must say that event is one part of it, but if you are wanting to explore whether PSAI is worth joining or not, I will suggest that attend few of our events as a guest, get a feel of what goes in there, and that will really change your mind. Because if you're serious about professional speaking as a career or even as a professional communicator, I think you need to be moving around with like-minded people. That's very, very important. Half the
Absolutely.
battle is won when you have the right kind of people, and as they say, you are the best version of the 5 people that you spend your maximum time with. So I think PSA is a great platform to do that, and I can see myself evolving over last 2 years that I am being part of. And it reminds me of a quote by the famous, the legend Maya Angelou, when she said, "Nobody can make it out here alone." And I think PSA is a fantastic platform to do it together and be
Absolutely.
there for each other. So thank you so much, Nirja, once again. And it's been wonderful. Thank you, PSI, for this opportunity. And I hope you all had a great time and great learnings altogether. Thank you.
Thank you, Lokesh, and thank you, PSAI. Thank you, everyone there. Big, big thank you. Thank you, gratitude.